Okay, so I'm just going to give two examples of turning a fallacy into an argument because I know that's a little weird, and I do have some examples in the reader, but let me just kind of give some on the video here. So let's say what I'll do here is I'm going to present a fallacy, I'll explain the fallacy it is, and I'll put it up on the screen, and then I'll switch it up so that I've turned the fallacy into an argument, and I'll put that new argument up on the screen so you can see that whole process. Okay, so here's the fallacy. The agreement binds us, thus we should honor the agreement. The agreement binds us, thus we should honor the agreement. So I consider this to be the begging the question fallacy, and the reason for that is that an agreement already by definition sort of binds you, right? That's what an agreement does. It binds people together by certain rules or whatever the stipulations were. And so honoring the agreement and the agreement binding us, it's close enough to where the speaker isn't really offering anything new here. So we consider this begging the question. It's reasoning in a circle, not enough new is being provided in the conclusion. Now, what if I wanted to turn that into an argument? Well, one of the things that you can do is what I like to do this is I write out some premises, like the premise conclusion format we've done, like 1, 2, and 3, and then I write the conclusion of the fallacy that was given, just the conclusion, and I forget about the premise for now. So in this case it says, we should honor the agreement. So now I'm going to write out some reasons, and my conclusion is going to be, we should honor the agreement. And now I have to think to myself, and this is the creative part, what possible reasons would it take to make a good argument as to why one should honor an agreement? What reasons would legitimately provide evidence as to why we should honor this agreement? Obviously, it's not good evidence to say what the first speaker said and say the agreement binds us, because that's more or less what it means to honor an agreement, that it binds us. So what I come up with is I said, first, we are friends and we respect each other. That's one good reason to honor the agreement. And second, we both signed the agreement. That's another good reason to honor the agreement. Right? So now I've gone beyond it being an agreement to we've both codified the agreement with a signature. That's something different. And I've also added that we're friends and respect each other, even more reason to honor an agreement that we both entered into willingly. So now new additional reasons have been provided as to why we should honor the agreement. So I've turned what was a fallacy into an argument by providing legitimate reasoning. So that's what I mean when I ask you to turn a fallacy into an argument. The next one, the mainstream media like the idea, but they are known for their liberal bias, so the idea will never work. The mainstream media like the idea, but they are known for their liberal bias, so the idea will never work. So this is a fallacy I would consider the genetic fallacy. It seems to be rejecting the idea because of its connection to a liberal bias, and without giving any really arguments or evidence about the idea itself. Right? It just says these people like it, it won't work because they're connected to it, and so it won't work. So there isn't really the content of the idea isn't provided. So if I were to turn that into an argument, I would just simply add a very basic premise. I'd say the idea is stupid and misguided, therefore it will never work. Now I'm referring to the content of the idea. And of course, I'm just trying to provide some basic level of argument. Obviously, I could get more specific if someone asked me this, right? If I was really creating this argument, I would tell you why it's misguided. But because we're just doing an example here, all you have to do is come up with a premise that in theory would support the conclusion or prove the conclusion. That's all this task is being asked, right? Don't think too hard about it. You're just getting rid of the crappy premises that made the fallacy, and you're replacing them with legitimate premises that make an argument. So again, if I refer to the content of the idea as meaningless and stupid, as misguided and stupid, then I can conclude that it won't work, if it were true that the idea is misguided and stupid.